I know you need someone who can do X, Y, and Z. Here's how I've already done that, and how I'm going to do that for you.
Welcome back to Answer the Call, where we help Christians discern what they feel called to do, identify the right job title, and then land that job with efficiency and speed. Last week, we had an episode where we talked about how to skim job descriptions effectively. So you massively cut down on the amount of time that you're reading through unnecessary job descriptions that you end up feeling like, is this a fit or not? We showed you the 5-step system to evaluate it real quick and move on and collect your job postings that you're going to apply to. Now, once you have job openings that you are ready to apply to, in this episode, we want to talk about how exactly to apply to improve your job application to interview conversion ratio. So we want to boost the number of interviews you're getting from the time you're spending applying through these steps. And you might just think, Kelsey, Audrey, isn't it just like you just hit that easy apply, drop the resume? If you have actually thoughtfully been applying to jobs, you know that it's typically more complicated than that. And many of the jobs worth pursuing have some steps beyond the easy apply. So we want to talk you through that and then also show you some untraditional things to do that are not in the instructions that you see on your application page, but we're going to teach you so that you could get around the recruiters and straight to the hiring managers so they could say, oh, I got to hire this person. So that's what we're going to be talking about. Miss Audrey is going to be our expert here. So I'll let you take it away.
I feel like we are bringing opposite energies today because I'm feeling fired up about, you can easily apply if you want your numbers to be 500 job applications and no interviews. And you're saying it in a much nicer way.
You're ready to breathe fire. Okay, well, let's go with that. That's cool. Fine.
Starting with prerequisites, we did this last week as well. What you need to have in order before you even get into this 7-step system for the application process. You've got that one job title identified with maybe a few variations of that title, probably a few variations of that title. And then the second prereq is that you are using the 5-step system we talked about last week to decide if you are applying to these jobs. Maybe you've batched 2 or 3 applications that you want to do. Again, listen to last week's episode to hear more about our thoughts about batching and why it's probably not a good idea to do a lot of batching. Anyways, let's get into it.
Meaning like selecting, creating a huge list of jobs that you're like, I picked out all my favorite jobs that I want to apply to. And it's been like a week or two. And a lot of those might be gone by now. So yeah, and one thing to say about picking the one job title, we really do mean select one target job title that you're like, this is my next career step. This is what I'm tailoring my resume and my LinkedIn profile for. And if you don't do that, you're wasting a ton of time and energy and you're being wishy-washy. Wishy-washy doesn't get hired. It just doesn't. So if you need help identifying the best job title for you, whether you are in a linear career progression or a career pivoter, reach out to us. Schedule a call with me this week. It's free. thecalledcareer.com. Back to you, Audrey. So they have those prerequisites done. Now they have a few job postings that they're like, I'm going to apply. What do they do?
Yes. Okay. So understanding the job posting first and foremost. And what I mean by that is I've even fallen into the trap before in my own job searches in the past of believing that job postings don't really say anything and they're kind of stupid and they don't mean anything. And I hear people fall into that all the time. The job posting is not stupid. It is saying exactly what you need to know to tailor your application and to tailor some outreach messages and interview prep and all those things. So taking the job posting very seriously and what they're saying very seriously. It's not just a bunch of mumbo jumbo. The top part of that job description that explains what the position is has so many details that are going to be helpful later on. But I do want to break this down to help y'all understand the different parts of the job description and who typically writes them. Because before you even see a job description, it started as something called a job requisition, which is the internal request and approval to hire. And it goes through like finance and HR and everything. And that's where the hiring manager is basically building their case for why they want to bring somebody onto their team with XYZ requirements and things like that. So, all of that to say, the top part of the job description, those typically 2 paragraphs that you see, are typically written by the hiring manager. So it's exactly the language of what they're looking for and what they even use to pitch for this job. And then the bottom section of the responsibilities and qualifications are typically written by a recruiter because they're translating what the hiring manager wants into that job description language that we're all too familiar with after reading so many job descriptions, right? And honestly building their numbers for being able to get people into these interviews and candidates into the jobs. So that's the difference between different parts of the job description. That's going to come in handy later when you're building out your outreach messages. Anything to add?
That's like the key difference between the first paragraph, think hiring manager, bullet points, generally, think recruiter.
Mm-hmm.
So that if you just need a visual,
Mm-hmm.
those are kind of the 2 categories that we're thinking of. Of course, the hiring manager will likely have input on the things that are put into the bullet points, like their preferred level of experience, number of years of experience, things like that. But I'm expecting the recruiter is weighing in pretty heavily on the job bullet points as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So understanding that first. Second would be tailoring your resume and LinkedIn. Big asterisks here because you've already identified the one job title you're going for and your prerequisites and done your resume and LinkedIn to be tailored for that specific job title. What I'm saying now in this step 2 of the application process is doing even more tailoring. But if that sounds intimidating, I really want um, you to think of this more simply because it's not that hard. Is that crazy to say, Kelsey?
Well, it is if you, I think in the traditional sense, if the the listeners who just heard you say like tailor your resume for each job, that sounds like not a small thing. That sounds like a lot of work, but like you were saying, the merit of choosing one target job and then studying 5 to 10 or more job descriptions that you would want to apply to when you're confirming, like, do I really want to target this specific job? Or, like I said at the top of last episode, like our client Hunter, do I need to drill down even more from supply chain analyst to demand planner? Once you lock in on the tightest niche that you possibly can, you're able to optimize your base level resume in LinkedIn based on the commonalities you see in the job descriptions you reviewed in your market research. So once you have that base level, depending on how dialed in your particular position is, like for demand planner in supply chain, I'm not totally sure how much Hunter really had to tailor per job posting and job application because he likely is the key is trying to apply to jobs that are similar enough to where you wouldn't have to tailor it that much in terms of your resume and your LinkedIn profile. However, Audrey, what you're suggesting is please do a scan to see if you need to reorder your bullet points or bring out one of your extra bullet points from maybe your internal log of accomplishments, like, oh wait, I have done that. I just don't generally highlight that on my resume, but sounds like they want it, so I'm gonna put that bullet point in. And Teal HQ, I think, is a resume building tool that I've heard a lot at like our clients and then even some random people that I talk to constantly. I'm always on the market research about, okay, guys, what's the pulse on the job market? I really heard people speak very highly of that tool, and that is a tool that allows you to have a large bank of bullet points that you've crafted that speak to your experience, and then it'll help you choose which ones to leave out for a particular job or pull in to be tailored to each position. So I hope that that tool, as well as that tip to really niche down as much as possible, can assure you that you're not making drastic changes for each job posting.
Mm-hmm.
If you are, that means that you're too scattered in your job search.
Mm-hmm. Excellent explanation. And if you're hearing all of this and thinking, no part of me wants to participate in redoing my resume, Book a call with Kelsey.
Yeah, you're allowed to be like, there is no part of me with like my 4 kids and
Mhm.
real life outside of my full-time job that wants to do that. We take that off your plate and optimize your resume and your LinkedIn for you, as well as when it's time to start applying to jobs. Audrey, we actually just recently added this to the program. It's you will do 2 hour-long sessions to have them watch you apply to jobs for them, and then you watch them to make sure that they're implementing all the steps that you're about to share meticulously and efficiently. So they don't have overwhelm, they don't have like a blockage to do this themselves because you're like, we're easing into this together. We're doing it. I'm also auditing your process each week to make sure, like, hey, do we need to test out something new for your particular situation? And so if this all gives you the ick, get help.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
if not, do it yourself.
Mhm. Because you can. Um, okay, that's step two. More details around tailoring your resume and what we mean about by that at this point in the process. After that, identify step three is identifying the team and the hiring manager. Specifically, the hiring manager is the most important thing. And Kelsey, this is my favorite part because we get to put on our investigator hats. And I use the sometimes this analogy lands and sometimes it doesn't. But I like to use the comparison of pretend like your best friend is going on a date and you have to find out everything, find out who he is and everything about him. That's what you're doing here.
I do know someone that pulls background checks for her friends.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, it's
Exactly.
only like $2 or $3. I don't know. Last time we
Oh,
chatted about this was years ago.
real background checks? Oh my
Yeah,
God.
I don't know. I don't know if that's true, but I heard it.
That's funny. But on a serious note, what you're doing here, so everything that we've explained up to this point is the actual applying to the job, right? The step by step applying to the job. At this point, you're going that extra step to identify who's the hiring manager here and how do I get around all of the um, roadblocks to get to the hiring manager, right? Just speak them directly. So the first step to doing that is figuring out what team the role sits on. And you can absolutely figure this out by the keywords or the adjectives in the job description that are typically surrounding the job title, or they're just immediately in that first paragraph of the XYZ team does blah, 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 blah. If they're talking about a team in the job description, that is the team that you'll be working on.
You could also ask ChatGPT, hey, I'm applying to this job title. Here are, like, you could copy and paste all of the job titles within a certain department by going to their company's LinkedIn page, selecting the people tab, and you could say, here's all the job titles I'm seeing that might be in this department that are a title 2 or 3 above what I'm applying to. Which ones, because it might be, I would suppose it's not bad to spray and guess it's try a few
Yeah.
um, and ask it like which one or ones do you think is the hiring manager for this role, and that'll give you some feedback real fast, and it might be true.
Yeah.
And it might also show you more accurately, like maybe you were guessing that a certain niche is within under HR, but maybe it's a super large company that they have a lot of different specialties within HR, or sometimes like a customer success manager, it might be under the sales department rather than I don't know, marketing. And you need to maybe just educate yourself a little bit more of, for the job titles I'm applying to, who would the hiring manager's job title be? Because I'll say this one more time, I've said this a few times on the podcast, hiring manager is not a job title. It is the term to describe the person at that company that would be your boss. Like, they have a temporary assignment while they're hiring to manage the hiring process, to bring someone new on your team, onto their team. So they are temporarily a hiring manager, but on paper, they are the senior VP of talent if you are going for talent manager or something.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I have an example, which this example exists at this time that we're recording the this podcast. So if you're listening to this maybe a couple months later, maybe even just a couple weeks later, you probably won't be able to find this specific job posting. But I found two they're the first two that I picked. that we can demonstrate this process with, and talk through it really briefly because and I also want to say I didn't comb through job postings. These are the first two that I picked. So
You didn't like pick a softball one that was
mm-mm,
easy on you. You were
mm-mm.
literally like, I could do this for any job.
Yes, I searched project manager,
That's
and
so good.
what came up was onboarding project manager dash enterprise. Keywords that I see in that title are onboarding and enterprise. And then the first sentence is, I won't read the whole thing, but responsible for managing the end to end setup, configuration, and blah, blah, blah of this solution for enterprise clients. I went in and I just searched onboarding, just onboarding on the company's LinkedIn page, the people tab. I just searched onboarding, and the VP of onboarding for enterprise clients came up seriously as the first person.
Get out of here. That's amazing.
That's your gal. That's your gal you're
That's so
sending an
cool.
outreach message to, which we'll talk about in a second. So she's the VP of customer success and onboarding. That was her actual title.
This. I love this. And by the way, why are we suggesting this? So they've already picked their ideal job title. They've tailored their resume and LinkedIn. They have applied to the job and followed all the particular instructions that company has. And by the way, some people ask like, "Oh, should I apply on LinkedIn or on the company page of their own internal website?" I mean, go ahead and do company page. I'm not sure how much that really matters, but I would choose company page in case they have additional fields where I could add more information that can help me stand out. And then once I apply, then I'm following Audrey's steps to go into like immediately. Please don't wait. Please don't
Mhm.
wait. And you do this immediately because you go into the people page of the company LinkedIn page and you're finding who your hiring manager might be so that why is this important?
So that they see your application, will see you as a person. They see that you're providing value to them immediately. It blows their mind when somebody reaches out to solve the problem for them rather than just being part of the pack that applied. There are probably hundreds of applications. There are so many people looking for jobs. If you're listening to this, you're probably feeling that pain of just being one of many. This is how you are one of a few, if there is even anybody else reaching
Yeah,
out,
you
which
might
there
be
might
one
not
of
be.
one.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody else reaches out, they might have said, "Hey, I applied. I'm really interested. Let me know." dot dot dot. That's not a value add message. And I think why this is, I want to underscore something really fast. I formally used to recommend that people do this process both with the recruiter and the hiring manager. I am now saying do not send pitch messages like this to recruiters unless they are directly affiliated with the job listing. You know how sometimes it's like, here's the person that posted this role. They're doing that because they are open to being public and they're open to being reached out to. In this market that is very employer, the employers have more power. Recruiters are so, they could get any candidate that they want, basically. They're like, it's never been more true, at least in likely the time that you, listener, have been working, that a recruiter is like, I'll reach out to you if I want you. Hiring managers, however, are who your actual boss would be. And your boss is like, gosh, I really hope we find like a true A player that's like a good person that I could actually rely on. They're thinking about, wow, I'm gonna have to like trust this person with so much. I'm really worried because I have fears from how this hire went last time. And what they want is a person that not just says, I'm detail oriented, I'm a team player, I have initiative, but shows it right away by saying, hey, I found you and I saw that you need a onboarding specialist that can insert like the key thing that it seems like they're looking for of the benefit it would provide to that company for you to do a good job. I'm reaching out not only because I've done that for other companies, but also because I share a tremendous like passion or energy for what you're doing. You don't have to say that if it's like Again, a utility company or whatever. Um, but if you want to add that, feel free.
Mhm.
Some of my accomplishments include put your 2 or 3 favorite bullet points that you're like, dang, I think that this is so relevant to them. Just paste it from your resume and say, I know you're hiring right now. So do you think that this is worth a conversation? Like worth a conversation question mark. Here's a link to my Calendly, or I'll let me know and I'll accommodate according to your schedule.
Mhm.
And the hiring manager might not get back to you. They also might not schedule a spontaneous meeting with you, but the ideal outcome is actually that they would internally message the recruiter and say, I just had such a neat candidate come my way. Please push them through to the phone screen, like the first interview with you. Or they might even say, put them through to the interview with me, because I actually don't need you to like screen their experience. It looks like on their LinkedIn they already have the basics. And that is the ideal outcome. So I also don't I know that clients often get discouraged. Oh, I didn't get any response from the hiring manager. It might still be working in your favor.
Mhm.
It might still be. So sorry I took the reins, Audrey. I was just
Okay.
riffing. What do you
You
let's
went
pick back up with what you want to share.
well, you went to step 4, which is craft a targeted message.
I already did
Great.
it.
I do want to go back and give that second example of the job description I found when I searched data analytics, and data scientist came up at Microsoft. Pretty cool job.
Mhm.
Works this job, the Microsoft Azure Host Networking and Hardware Acceleration Team. That's a mouthful. Kelsey, I'm not kidding you when I say I copy and pasted Azure Host Networking and Hardware Acceleration Team. I pasted it into the People tab on Microsoft's LinkedIn page. The first person who comes up is VP and Distinguished Engineer, comma, that exact team. That's your guy.
That's your guy.
That's your
Good
guy.
for him.
So rewind 2 minutes, not even that long probably, and listen to Kelsey outline that message, that targeted message of, I know you're looking for someone to blank do this thing that's mentioned in the top paragraph of the
Mhm.
job description. Here's how I've delivered similar results in the past. Insert key accomplishments.
Yeah, and you don't want to do much fluff at all, because leaders all the time are getting inbound, like cold pitches by B2B salespeople.
Mhm.
So you don't want to sound like, oh, quick question for you, or hey, really impressed with what you're doing at blah blah. That's what all the salespeople are using. The first line on a cold pitch from a salesperson is never going to be a something like as specific as, I know you need a insert role title on your XYZ team who can blah 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 from the job description. That hopefully will remove their urge to delete the message.
Mhm.
You got to grab their attention right away and show, hey, I'm well researched. And one question that I know we're going to need to answer is, how do I reach out to them? Do I have to get LinkedIn Premium and use one of the mail credits? I would say probably not. I don't think that InMail is really that effective. I would say the most effective thing that you could possibly do is find this person's name and the company that they work for, and you can use one of the many, many, many email finder tools online that are free. And like a contact out, I think is one that we've used, Audrey.
That's my favorite.
And but honestly, they're a dime a dozen. And you could also ask ChatGPT or your AI tool of choice, hey, can you guess this person's email for me based on what domain XYZ company uses, or what format or they use for their email addresses, and it'll come up with a few options. Just send all of them via email, not in one email, but in separate emails. And whichever one you didn't get a mail failure notification on is their email, and it worked.
Mm-hmm.
And otherwise, that's a really, really good way to cut through noise and get their attention, because they might not be on LinkedIn all the time. And you're definitely running that risk. Like, not everybody's on LinkedIn all the time. They might see your message months later and be like, oh, cute, I wish I could have hired them. um, and so directly reaching out via email is helpful. You could also say, I also reach out to you via LinkedIn, and do like the double whammy if that's really something that's available to you. I would encourage you to push for it. And then on LinkedIn, what you're doing is sending a connection request. And Audrey, can you mention like what you would suggest putting in the connection request note?
I suggest nothing.
Oh yeah, okay. I thought that, but I was like, did I miss anything? Yeah, no, I suggest nothing, because if they know they are hiring for a certain role, and your LinkedIn headline is it has that role title or something similar, like one below it, and then it says with X number of years experience in certain industry that they're looking for. Or if you can't do that and you're a career pivoter, we could get more creative. Please reach out. Um, then, and you have a clear head profile that looks good, because people don't like this, but I, there's no use ignoring that your face is your calling card, and they're picking up assumptions about your personality and your professionalism based on your profile photo. So please do put effort and money into that. Um, and if they see those two things, good profile photo, good headline. And then if they feel like clicking into your profile, a good profile that seems like really relevant and impressive, then you're likely 20 to 30% of the time on average is what we see, but potentially more if you have a very, very relevant profile to the people, kinds of contacts you're reaching out to. 20 to 30% or more of the time, they will just accept it. And then you could send them a message without having to use InMail, without having to like beat around anything. The tool will just let you message them as many times uh, during the time that you're connected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's how I would recommend actually step 5. So step 4 was crafting the message and sending it. Step 5 is begin networking around the role in addition to just the hiring manager. So what I mean by around the role would be related contacts such as peers, senior leadership, specifically potential team members, and connecting with them on LinkedIn. If you want to send them direct messages, emails. If you want to send them emails, I would recommend emails for senior leadership. Very quality emails. I mean, all the emails that you're sending should be quality, but senior leadership, it makes sense to add a little bit more context to that, why you're messaging them. And I would say, Kelsey, you let me know. Peers, I would really go more LinkedIn for that. What do you
Yeah, I think
think?
that's fine.
Mhm.
And I don't put a ton of effort into your peer outreach, because by this point, you're already like, girls, this is a lot of effort for one job application. So if you were limited on time, which a lot of people are, job searching takes quite a bit of time, and you have a lot of tasks to fit in. So, on the hierarchy of tasks, reaching out to potential peers and particularly recruiters is actually quite low priority. It is really nice to have. I would say it is still nice to reach out to people who look like they would be peers on that same team. It's especially a bonus if you happen to have a mutual connection or some common element of your past, because you could just directly ask them, hey, I'm applying. I saw that you're a fellow, like my alma mater is. I saw that you're a fellow Aggie. I am applying to the open role on your team for XYZ role title. I've uh, just submitted my application. I know that some companies give kickbacks if there's a referral bonus. So maybe this could be good for both of us. Would you be open to a call and to see if you are comfortable with uh, submitting a referral with my application?
Mhm.
And that could definitely help. It is a little bit complicated because sometimes if you are getting it's honestly, referrals are just complicated to try to manufacture out of nowhere. It's just typically, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it just works out if this is like a natural connection that you could get on your side very quickly, because sometimes in order to follow a company's referral process, they have to submit an internal form saying, I'm formally referring this person to this role. They have to submit that before you apply. Sometimes it works that way. If not, great. I hope that will make things easier for you. But if you are taking precious time to try to connect with peers, and then it takes a while to get them on the phone, and then it takes them a while to gather information they need and then submit a referral on your behalf, they might have closed the application by that point, or they are much more likely already on this first or second or beyond round of interviews. And even if the job description is open, they might really not be actively taking more applicants. And that would just be for a backup. First group of candidates is already being passed through. And in all those scenarios, I'm just saying time is of the essence, and trying to spend a ton of time gathering referrals through peers. I don't know. I don't think that people are looking for referrals quite as much anymore, since it's such an employer-led market, and really the top resume and LinkedIn can win
Mm-hmm.
sometimes.
I agree. And I think we see people in our program fall into a comfort of, oh, I'll just reach out to more peers to get my numbers up, more peers, peers, peers. And that is where I think it's important to really think about what you're saying with the time.
Mm-hmm.
Where is the most valuable place to put your time? The answer to that is the hiring manager.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely the hiring manager. And peers are a little bonus on top of that. Um,
Like if you're really obsessed with a certain role.
mhm.
I personally probably wouldn't do this for every role.
Yes, I agree. And I think where this can become very beneficial to you is you're obsessed with the role, very convinced that you would be the I'm hesitating to say perfect, but for lack of
No,
better
just do it. Yeah, I
the
mean, we've
perfect
had some
person.
clients be like, I'd be perfect for this.
Yes.
You should just hire me.
Yes. You connect with some peers, maybe just one peer, and they become your champion in the company. They're like, girl or boy, whatever, bro, you
Bro.
need to work here. And that's not going to happen all the time, but it could. And it's something.
Yeah.
So spend
Yeah.
a fraction of your time creating the opportunity for that
Mhm.
kind of opportunity to happen.
Mhm.
And they can always, if there's not a formal referral process that they can go through for you, they can do an informal process of messaging the hiring manager. Because the
Mhm.
thing is, you are such a value add to the peers, because while this role is open, who's doing the job? Who's doing that work? Probably the people on the team. And
Mhm.
they want to get that work off their plate again because they have enough work to do. And the
Yeah.
manager as well is probably absorbing a lot of that position. So
That's
if
a really
you,
good point.
yeah, I think about that with my friend just had someone leave her team. She's like, yeah, and they're not backfilling it. I just have to absorb it, which,
Oh,
sorry, that
that's
was kind of a bad
unfortunate.
example, but there are plenty of companies that will hire and will
Yeah.
backfill it. But in the meantime, somebody has to do the work. And that's typically the people on the team.
And so, therefore, they have a burning pain in their life that you can come in as a solution to relieve.
Yes.
So, therefore, they might be really grateful that you reached out.
Yeah, and you could even say that maybe in your message. Don't make the message too long, please. Keep it pretty short and snappy. But just having that awareness of, I'm sure there's more responsibility on your plate while this role is open. I would love to be able to join your team and take that off your plate again.
Mhm.
That's
Don't
what we
worry.
kind of, those kinds of things when we say value add, which we're going to talk about in the next step, which is about following up on these messages. So, steps 5 that we just discussed is the networking around the role and how to start thinking about that and how to act on that. Um, when you are sending these messages, especially to a hiring manager, follow up is really, it is key, because so many people don't pay attention to the first message, right? Is when they
Yes.
get that second and third message where they're like, oh, okay, this person has follow through by following up. And it was brought back to the top of my inbox. Do not say that. Just bringing this to the top of your inbox. Don't say
Oh
that.
gosh. Okay, delete, block.
Delete. Don't say that. Going back to what I was just mentioning with the value add. So, what I mean when I say value add, what we mean is what value are you going to be to this person? What can you do for them? What can you get off their plate? Help them accomplish? How can you help them be a success? Stop talking about how it's going to help you.
I'm so excited. I just am super excited about what you're doing. I would love to learn more. I'd love to gain experience on your marketing team. I've, as somebody who has hired before, I've heard all of those things. And that I'm like, okay, great. You want me to pay you to help you. Awesome. Big value add. Yeah. That's, I can't wait to split my paycheck with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Versus, I know you need someone who can do X, Y, and Z. Here's how I've already done that, and how I'm going to do that for you.
Exactly. And that a lot of that is in the first message, but an example of a follow up message that I've sent myself, not because I have been applying to jobs recently, but I was pitching to a certain opportunity. Okay, to be totally real, I wanted to be a podcast sponsor on one of my favorite podcasts ever because they like ball so hard for their sponsors. They have like amazing ads and it's a Christian podcast. So I just thought it could be a fit. So my follow up, and I've sent this to clients like, hey, if you want to see me do this out in the wild, like this is how I did it. Yeah. So I had a very, very customized pitch that I also sent along with a Loom video, uh, giving a more personable introduction to myself and why I think I could be a value add to them. My follow up message, since I did not get a response the first time, was hey, in case you need more proof or more context behind what I do and how it works, I've linked below. Uh, I think I linked like 10 recent client interviews and of success stories. So you could see the quality of my work and how other people speak about it or feel about it. Um, no worries if not. I know like one of you just had a kid because they posted about that, but no, I think I like shoot. I closed in some like hard pitch kind of way, and I got a message back. We loved this pitch so much. I ended up not being a fit for their. They were focusing more on products than services, I think. But that just made my day. Like they, I think I made the whole team laugh, and they liked it. They liked my pitch. I mean, also I started with my subject line was because I make a bunch of your mom jokes. Please, this is so ridiculous that I'm bringing it up. This does not at all apply to your regular job applications. This is very niche, but if it makes you laugh today, they say a lot of your mom jokes on the podcast. And so my subject line for the email was a podcast sponsor as big as your mom.
I have sent it to clients before too. I'm like, what context do I need to add here? If any, I'll just let them see.
Well, sometimes that works if because we do have clients that are not applying to job openings. They're trying to create, get their favorite company to create a opening for them, or they're reaching out to small businesses or a single thought leader or solopreneur and saying, I want to help you. So that style works really, really well when you're applying to like somebody who has like a personal brand or kind of like a cult following. That can totally work. So maybe
Yeah.
it's still worth throwing out because, by the way, you don't need to wait for a job to be open. You could just submit basically your own pitch and application via email to your favorite people. And I've seen that happen probably dozens of times over the years.
Mm-hmm.
It most recently Charlotte. You could go back to her
Mm-hmm.
episode with us this summer.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Okay, I gotta shut up, Audrey. I'm gonna let you take it from here.
Yeah. Well, I think all that was helpful and made me laugh. So I think it probably made
Oh,
some people laugh. On the follow up though, an example of when I was at my old company internally networking to try and get a promotion. I was really put in my place by a mentor at the time, and this is just your reminder that the world owes you nothing. People owe you nothing. Don't get offended. Add value. So, my story, I was trying to get on this one manager's team because I knew he was a good manager. I had heard a lot of good things about him. I liked what they were selling, and I wanted to be on his team in particular. And I kept messaging him, hey, I didn't say let's have a chat. I provided value, I hope, at least. He wasn't responding to me. And I remember I was talking to my mentor at the time, like, I'm confused because everyone says he's a good manager, but he doesn't respond to messages and I don't understand. And la la la. My little, what, like 24-year-old brain, thinking that or kind of processing that out loud. And my mentor put me in my place and he said, you're not on his team. He owes you nothing. You have to prove to him that he should talk to you. That reigns true in your job search as well. Prove to them that they need to talk to you. You're not annoying them. If they want you to stop, they will tell you. They'll say, hey, I'm not accepting these messages. And you know what? That's fine. You move on. It's not offensive. If
Closure.
It's a closure. Don't be offended. One of the best things I've ever heard, you have to choose to be offended. Which
that's hard, but yeah.
Sometimes, let me just add a little caveat there. Sometimes you're allowed to be offended. Like, if someone says something really offensive, go ahead, choose to be offended. But these people who aren't responding to you, don't be offended. They don't owe you anything. Just keep sending messages.
Don't owe you anything. Yeah, just like lean into gratitude and no entitlement. No entitlement. And
Ooh,
like
listen
bless
to a few episodes
and release. Bless and release people.
Bless and release. I've been using that term a lot recently.
I feel like a lot of people that we talk to, a lot of anguish comes into their job search because they feel entitled to responses.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that.
I was perfect for that job. Why didn't I get a interview? And I think that can be frustrating for sure. It can be frustrating, but I do think that life gets a little bit easier, especially in the job hunting front, when you're like, no worries, keep it moving. The right thing's coming for me. I'm coming for it.
Yes, keep
no
it
worries,
moving.
keep it moving. I have no idea. Like somebody on that team just got pregnant. Like I have no idea. Like they just got a huge curveball and their budget slashed in half. I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they got some person that really will be perfect. I have no idea. Lean into that humility of I really don't know. So just keep moving until you find somebody who does know that you are the one for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And for a concrete piece of advice here with the follow-ups, we recommend sending 2 follow-ups. So that's 3 messages total before you're out of there onto the next opportunity. Don't send 18. Unless you're being really creative. I don't know. I'm sure there's some nuance to that, but typically the rule is 2 times, which means 3 total messages for your follow-ups, and continue adding value to those messages. Find a new way to add more context or tell them why you're a good fit. That's step 6. Step 7 is to rinse and repeat for every role that you are applying for. You'll get faster at it. The first few times, I would say allow for a couple weeks to warm up to this kind of process, but then you'll get used to it. You'll be sending, and then dare I say, you'll adopt this kind of behavior just into your life naturally. Mm-hmm. And it's really such a active way to live, and so much more rewarding and fulfilling to go after what you want rather than just leaning back so much and being mad that nothing's coming to you.
Audrey, I think I have to read James chapter 1.
Oh, we love James chapter 1 over here.
I love it. And this also, I think, would correspond well with Hebrews chapter 12, I think, because they have similar themes. But in your job search, when these things are exhausting, when you're like, what is the point of going through all this work? Start in verse 2. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work in you, so you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. But when you ask, you must believe and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like a wave in the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. That person should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. Such a person is double-minded and unstable in all they do. I also heard something this week that like blew my mind. The verse in Matthew, or the parable when Jesus says, if you have faith like a mustard, it's not as small as a mustard seed, by the way. I don't think. I have to go back, but it is, the translation is more accurately like a mustard seed. So we're superimposing like, oh, that means like if it's small, no worries, God could work with that. Actually, if we're going with the more accurate like a mustard seed, it means something that when planted produces deep, deep, wide roots that cannot be shaken and produces an incredibly fruitful tree that lasts for generations. So Jesus isn't like, I invite you to have small faith. Are you kidding me? He's like, I invite you to have big faith.
Mm-hmm.
Big faith that is deeply rooted, so that you can be also like in the parable of the sower, you can be like the seed that falls on good soil that thrives and isn't snatched up by the trials of this life or distracted by the riches and distraction of this life, isn't plucked up by the devil's schemes. It can't be shaken. And so I would invite you to try to grow in wisdom and accept the challenge of a job search with humility of, the Lord has called me to have a life of work and rest. He has called me to a life of work and contributing to his kingdom in the marketplace, with the work of my hands and of my mind. And yet I am not owed a particular way that that looks or timing. I'm really not. I'm not. The Lord is orchestrating everything in my life, not necessarily for my comfort, but for my good. For my good. And I think that this really makes me, I'm just gonna do it. Hebrews 12. Let's go to, yeah, I mean, wait, which is the part that has the perseverance?
13?
Am I thinking of Romans? Dog. This is why going into emergency scripture mode is a little, oh, no. Okay, let's do this. Okay, I'm just going to do it. I found it. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles. By the way, what hinders? A lack of perspective and entitlement. That is one of the things that hinders us. That so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race that is marked out for us, which is unique and individual, fixing our eyes on Jesus, who is the pioneer and perfecter of faith. Faith, so important. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured such opposition from sinners, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. This includes not growing weary and losing heart, so that you could provide for your family and your community, so that you could be fruitful, so that you could get to work. Do not grow weary of that. And as you grow weary, honestly, because that just happens, say, Jesus, hold my hand. I need you. You said that I could cast my burdens upon you. And you said that you would make, when I take on your yoke, it would be light. God, like David so often did this. He said, remember your promises to me. And that is a good and godly way to pray. Hey, I'm not feeling it. So like, where is it? I
Mm-hmm.
need your peace, Lord. I need your peace. I need your provision. Be like in the parable of the persistent widow of, I think that's in Luke chapter 18, who persisted in her request to the unrighteous judge so much that he thought she was going to attack him. And Jesus said, consider how much more a good and righteous judge, context like me, and your Father in heaven, is pleased to give you what you need and will give you your justice. So please accept the trial that is often a job search as something that God is using for your good and even the saving of many lives, I would say. Like, I really do think that seasons of extreme discomfort, which I myself have been in, I really do believe that all of the bitterness and scarcity and anger and anxiety that threatens to come up, it is an amazing opportunity to um, receive the Lord all the more in your trial. And I really do think that he works so much in the good and the bad. And Job, he said, should I take not take the bad along with the good? Blessed be the name of the Lord. He is the one that gives and takes away. It just is like that. I hope that this could help people have more focus on Jesus throughout their job hunt and the hardship that, I will not sugarcoat, often comes with it. Because it says, and this is the last thing I'll quote. Sorry, I've been like on Bible bash mode, but I really think that this is the most beautiful way that we can interpret our job hunt. Is going on to verse 4 in chapter 12 of Hebrews. God disciplines his children is the superimposed header for this section. It says, in your struggle against sin, you have not yet resisted to the point of shedding your blood. That reminds me of if Jesus scorned and suffered and endured through the cross, we could endure through job applications. Like, we soar on the wings of eagles, it says, I think, in Isaiah. And through him, we are more than victors, more than victorious. And so remember, in your struggle against sin, you have not yet resisted to the point of shedding your blood. And have you completely forgotten this word of encouragement that addresses you as a father addresses his son? It says, my son, do not make light of the Lord's discipline, and do not lose heart when he rebukes you, because the Lord disciplines the one he loves, and he chastens everyone he accepts as his son. And if you're listening to that and you're like, are you saying that like God made me lose my job, or God is forcing me out of my position to look for a new one and he's punishing me? No, but rather, because not necessarily, I don't know the mind of God. He's God and I'm me. But in verse 7, it continues to probably answer the objection that is coming up for you. It says, endure all hardship as discipline. God is treating you as his children. So all hardship, he says, treat it as discipline. He's not like, hey, overthink this and wonder if this is just how life is, or if it's the devil, or if it's just something that is suffering in my life as a result of my mistakes. He's like, hey, actually don't overthink it. Anything that is hard in your life, endure it as discipline. God is treating, and interpret that God is treating you as his child. For what children are not disciplined by their father. Actually, a lot in this day and age with gentle parenting that's creating monsters. But anyway, verse 8, if you are not disciplined and everyone undergoes discipline, then you are not legitimate, not true sons and daughters at all. Moreover, we have all had human fathers who disciplined us, and we respected them for it. How much more should we submit to the Father of spirits and live? And live. No, they disciplined us for a little while as they thought best, but God disciplines us for our good, in order that we may share in his holiness. No discipline seems pleasant. There's an ad in the way. No discipline. Get thee behind me, Satan. No discipline seems pleasant at the time. God has already accounted for you not liking your job search experience. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. For those who have been trained by their discipline, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace. And when you taste it, you can therefore hunger all the more to thirst and hunger for righteousness, which is what God's goal is. So go for hard things, do the job search, keep going. I'm frothing at the mouth because I'm so motivated by the Lord. I just can't believe that he gave us the Bible so that we could feast on the hope in his words. I just love that. Thank you for letting me rant, Audrey.
Wow.
Do you have any closing thoughts?
Amen. Those are my closing thoughts. I think we got to leave it there because I'm hyped up. I'm ready to go.
I'm excited for you guys. Reach out. If you need partnership and help and further support, go to thecalledcareer.com. I'd be glad to have a free consultation with you this week if you'd like deeper support. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. To get an even more meaningful head start into your calling, head to thecalledcareer.com, where my fellow career coach Audrey and I have created a whole suite of free resources and tools to help you get clear and get a job today. For those who are definitely ready to land a job or start a business in the next 6 to 12 months, we're here to help you biblically and practically discern your calling through coaching, reflection, and deep market research. Identify the job that's aligned with it, even if you currently have no idea what you want. Rebrand your resume and LinkedIn to translate your background to appeal to your future boss. P.S. We take this off your plate and do this for you. Also, we'll teach you how to land referrals and get attention from leadership through networking. Again, if that makes you nervous, we have these emails and LinkedIn messages literally written for you so you don't have to sweat. We're also here to give you unlimited interview practice so you're prepared to address every elephant in the room and knock selling yourself out of the park. Then we'll round out with helping you negotiate your salary so you land thousands more. Just so you know, recent clients have gotten $8,000 to $50,000 salary increases, even though they were totally non-traditional candidates. That's because we specialize in helping non-traditional career pivoters land jobs they're ecstatic to serve in. It takes work, but we're here to see you through until the end, when we're celebrating that day that you send me an email in all caps and you say, Kelsey, I got the job. Then you could be on the podcast. But I'll be here until then, keeping you accountable and encouraged by meeting with you literally until you land the job you want, even if that's up to 6 months from now within our program. Apply to join at thecalledcareer.com, and I'll see you next week here at Answer the Call. Bye for now.